Hi everyone, welcome back to The Konekt. It's so nice to be here. My name is Shiku, and we're back with another segment. Today I told you I'm taking over this channel. Pete is not here today, but I'm here with permission, I promise. You're in safe hands, and it's a wonderful day. Thank you for all the love you've shown on our last video. Thank you for the engagement, for the interactions, for sharing it. And we really pray it's been a blessing. I'm thankful to have been able to share part of my story, and I hope that it's encouraging to you. And today, as we promised in the last video, we have a very special guest for you. So we're going to be diving a little bit deeper in understanding from a professional lens what exactly is trauma, because I give you my definition based on my understanding. Now we want to go to the real experts and understand what it looks like, and helpful ways to deal with it, but also how to support other people who are dealing with it. So sit back, relax. Don't worry, you're in good hands. This is going to be a good one. We're going to now introduce our wonderful, beautiful, if I might add, guest. And I'll let her introduce herself, but I will just say, one of the kindest and most sincere people I have come across, and I'm very excited for this conversation. So welcome to The Konekt.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, you're welcome. Maybe you can start by telling us your name and a bit of what you do.
Okay, so my name is Carol, and I am a clinician, but I'm a provisional psychologist by profession. So I have worked in this space for 8 years now, both in England and here in Australia. So yeah.
Wow, welcome. That's amazing. England to Australia. Yeah. A bit of a globe-trotting experience. So guys, we've brought you the best of the best international class experience. And yeah, we're very excited to have you here.
Thank you.
So today, there's something I was told about your profile that was quite interesting to me. And I know it might not be very relevant fully for the conversation today, but it was something about forensic psychology.
Oh.
That's something on her resume. Guys, have you written that down? Forensic psychologist. So maybe just for us who have not been exposed to that before, what exactly does that look like? And maybe how does your work day to day look like right now in that space?
So forensic psychologist means like a psychologist or someone in the psychology profession who works with people who are within the criminal justice system. So, but not very fancy, but yeah, just working with people. So for me, I have worked with young offenders. That was in England. Throughout my training, that's when I was training. And then when I moved here to Australia, I'm currently working in maximum prisons in a forensic setting as a clinician.
Yeah.
So yeah. Wow. So that's my day-to-day work, just working with people who have found themselves on the other side of the law.
Yes. Yeah. And I would imagine the main goal is for reformation and transformation.
Definitely. Rehabilitation. Yes.
Yes. Right. I like that. That's feeling like a message of grace that, there is hope to
most
turn life around even when you make mistakes. And all that.
And those mistakes come from somewhere, right? It's a different path. People have different journeys that they take within their life.
Yes.
And though it may seem like against the law, but then there are a lot of things to learn on that side of the law. And there's a lot of things that you can either teach others or you can come through stronger than you were before. So for me, it is, everyone is human.
Yes.
They make mistakes and mistakes can be rectified.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. That's amazing. And I think that lends itself so well into like the segue for our conversation today. And, in the last video, I was sharing a bit of my own experience of, going and experiencing abuse, and some of the impact that it's had. And I shared a portion of that story, but, this was something for me that had even happened, previously, like even in childhood. And I think I wanted to just unpack a little bit, because that's just one aspect of a type of trauma. But how would you define trauma? Is it like a buzzword that we're overusing, you know, as Gen X, Gen Z people? Or what exactly is trauma? How would you define trauma, and what kinds of trauma are there? Like, what are the different kinds of trauma? Yeah.
So with trauma is a life event that has happened to you that has impacted on it's an emotional reaction to certain adverse life events that happen to you.
Yeah.
And there's different types of traumas. There's chronic, there's acute. And chronic trauma is life events that have a situation that has repeatedly happened, and it keeps occurring. And then with acute trauma, you find that it is life events that happen, traumatic events that happen. You have loads of different traumatic events that are happening to you.
Yeah.
So those are the different types of trauma in itself, but it's important to realize that it's an emotional reaction. It's an emotional response to something that may have felt harmful, as though your life is at risk, threatening. So yeah, you're responding to that emotionally, and it can come out in various ways.
Wow. Okay, that's really important to highlight, that it is an emotional, response to something that has happened. And I think one of the things I'm curious about is, so I've mentioned obviously my experience of going through it, but are there things that may not seem traumatic that induce trauma? And what examples are those? Because I think there's a lot of us walking around with responding in certain ways and not understanding where that's coming from. So, there's what I would call the big events that are outward and obvious, but are there smaller things that people miss that could induce trauma in our lives?
Most definitely. Just witnessing someone going through a traumatic event could ignite trauma within you. Just hearing about a traumatic event or someone's life experience, for example, even being in my profession, constantly hearing it could, it's called vicarious trauma. So you are now experiencing trauma because of things that you're hearing, things that you're seeing. So even young people, they may not be abused themselves in a home, but they're observing or seeing relationships that are abusive within their home.
Oh, wow.
That could actually bring trauma for them. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, physical things that happen directly to you.
Yes.
Even seeing it, hearing it could impact you.
Oh, wow.
And you could actually end up with traumatic stress disorder or,
Wow. Okay.
complex trauma, anything, but yeah.
Wow. Okay. So what are some indications? Like, what would be a flag for someone? Because then that's a broad spectrum, right, of like different things. So would you say there's a lot of us walking around dealing with trauma that we're not even aware of?
It could happen.
Yeah.
Especially in our cultural background.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that happen that you can easily say that it is, that's just our culture. You can easily, you could easily say, I'm just a woman, I'm being submissive to my husband. I'm just a child, I'm being submissive to my parents, and not realize that there's certain things that are happening within you that have actually now been seen as a traumatic event, and we might not even know it because of being uneducated around it and not knowing what it is that it's supposed to look like. How does it come out? How does it surface? What are the signs? What are the symptoms that I'm supposed to look out for to know that this is trauma? To know that this is, here I'm responding, in a way that maybe is impacting on my mental health or the way I react with certain people. Yeah.
So let's dive into that a little bit more. What are some of those indicators to look out for? And so I maybe want to look at this from, if I come to you as a psychologist, what are the things you're looking out for? Or even myself, would you advise people to like, because I'm someone who reflects a lot and, taking stock and all that. What are some of those things that you should look at and should maybe be a point of maybe not self-diagnosing because we don't want to do that.
No.
But just to be like, hey, maybe I need to talk to someone about
if
this
you
thing
find
that's happening.
yourself isolating yourself, if you find yourself having recurring nightmares about certain situations, if you're a young person, you find yourself like you don't want to interact with other people, you're not engaging, even if you're an adult, things like that.
Wow.
Could be telltale signs of, having symptoms or reactions to certain situations within your environment.
Yeah.
Or even, being on the edge, anxiety, when you're now finding yourself in certain situations or certain topics.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few symptoms that have to be evident. You just don't look for one.
Yes.
So there's a lot of symptoms and some can overlap.
Yeah.
It takes a while to diagnose someone for trauma, and you'd really need to assess them.
Yes.
So it's not just one thing that you're looking out for.
Yeah.
And it has to have time for a certain period of time, those symptoms.
Yeah. Okay.
And it has to impact on the way you function day to day. Like, are you now able to, you can't even get out of bed, you can't get up, you can't go anywhere, you don't even want to go to work,
Yeah.
So things like that. But then, like I said, it's not just one sign that you look out for.
Yes.
It has to have accompanied by other symptoms and other signs.
Wow. Okay. That's really helpful to know. So, and that's really helpful to know because there's different, signs and types of it. But my question is also maybe leading up, like following up from that. So trauma is like a big thing, but is there emotional effects that people go through that may not necessarily be diagnosed? Is it diagnosed as trauma, but people still need to heal from experiencing certain things? And how would you go about that? Like, how would you suggest someone go about that?
So in terms of what it is, let's say if you could be anxious, you could be depressed. Like I said, symptoms overlap with other diagnoses, especially when it comes to trauma.
Yeah.
So there is always help that you can seek. Your GP is your first point of protocol to go to.
Oh, okay.
Because they can do a referral for you to go and speak to someone. And through that therapeutic session, they can start doing assessment and identify what it is that you're actually going through, And like you're saying, yes, it can be easily missed because it can come out as a certain symptom. But then through you discussing and saying the things that have happened to you, someone within this profession will be able to identify that, is this anxiety? Is this depression? Is this trauma? What experiences have you had that have led you to this?
Yeah.
Does that happen all the time when you're in different situations, or is it in a particular situation where you're now experiencing these symptoms?
Yeah.
So it can be missed depending on the symptoms that are there and the overlap.
Yeah.
So you'd really need to go to someone who's really experienced, and knows the ins and outs of diagnosis. And
Okay. So it then sounds like the first place someone should start is just finding someone to talk to.
Yeah.
And this is preferably someone professional to talk to. And what you're saying is, like, based here in Australia, you go through the GP to get a referral for a psychologist or
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I did have someone ask me, and I know this is a question I've had as well. How do you know that the psychologist is a right fit for you?
Right.
You know, like even by the time, let's say you go to the GP, you go to your referral, is it automatic that the first place you're referred to is the fit and you should stay there? Or like, what are some of the, like, how do you know what's a good fit for you when you're looking for someone to talk to?
I know it's cliche when people say, when you know, you know. Yeah. You have to find someone who you first build rapport for.
Yeah.
The most important thing is feeling safe. Safe space. Is it a safe space for you to share?
Yeah.
And for you to know it's a safe space, you don't feel anxiety by opening up about your life.
Yeah.
You don't question to say, is this information that I'm saying going to be received or not? It's about building rapport.
Yeah.
As the profession, you're always encouraged to build rapport with your client, to build rapport with the people that you're going to see.
Yeah.
Because they're coming to a safe space. So is there a right fit? Is there a way to know? Is it a matter of the first person you see, that's your psych? No. You have to, they have to be able to build a relationship with you and build a rapport with you.
Yeah.
And as a professional, they have to feel safe coming to you.
Oh, wow. So it's both ways.
Yes.
Wow.
But mostly so on the professional.
Yeah.
Yes. Does that client feel, are you making that person feel safe? Is it a safe environment for them to open up?
Yeah.
Because if it's not, you're doing more damage than you are treating them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're going to walk away from that having other wounds opened if they were shut.
Yeah.
Or if they were dealing with them. Or you're going to just add on to the trauma that they already have.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that you do not want to do. So as much as it's also on the person seeking help, the job is mostly on the profession.
Yeah.
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 To make sure that whoever they're seeing, they're safe.
Yeah. Okay. That's really good to know. I think that's very helpful. So one of the things that is interesting, even picking up off of that, is so we've kind of gone a step ahead into like, go through the GP, get a referral. But what would you say to someone who is hesitant to even take that first step to admit that they might need therapy or to talk to someone about the things they've been through, even if it may not necessarily be a huge traumatic event, but there's some emotional disturbance that you're realizing, I'm a bit uneasy about this, or I'm feeling withdrawn, I'm finding myself not my usual self, or, I'm a bit like, I'm having outbursts of anger more than I usually would. And like, are those some of the things? So maybe someone is going through that, but they're like, oh, that's just life. Like, why would I need to go and talk to someone about that? Like, what are some of the things you would say to someone, or like, how would you help that person to see that it's not a bad thing to actually need help in that area, and so that they feel the courage to actually go and get help? Because some people might think, oh, if I go look for help, then I'll immediately be put on medication, or it means that there's something very wrong with me. Like, what's the mindset that we should have when it comes to going to seek for help?
Oh, that's a good question, because there isn't a right way to feel.
Yeah.
It takes a lot for someone to seek help. And with all honesty, it's a matter of, does the person want the help? Have they realized? It takes realization of being in a bad place for you to be able to get the confidence to go and seek help. So if someone is not in that place, it takes a lot of work, even with their loved ones, to actually try and convince someone to say, you know what, you need help. But then if whatever you're experiencing is now affecting your day-to-day life, that's a sign that I need to speak to someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it affecting your inability to function? That's the question that I would say ask yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Okay.
if it is, then that is the right time to seek for help. That is not that any earlier, it's not, it is. But then for someone who is not identifying something as a problem,
Yeah.
they have to see what impact is it's having within themselves and within their being. How is it impacting the relationships that are around them?
Yeah. Yeah.
How is it impacting even themselves? If you can't get up and you can't go anywhere,
Yes.
if you can't function, you can't work, you can't provide for your family, then yeah,
It's time to get help.
it's time to get help.
Wow. Wow.
But then it's never easy to convince someone.
Yes.
That's you have to come to a point where you tell yourself enough is enough.
Okay. Yeah. So you have to get to the point where you say that enough is enough. And I think it's really powerful to hear that you don't necessarily have to, like, you have to be ready, because you could go and start seeking the help just to please other people and it not have an impact on you. So you have to be ready. And I think the encouragement that I'm getting from that is it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to get the help that you need. And we all need help in some way, in some area of life. Like, none of us are self-sufficient. So, but what I'm hearing, and it's very encouraging, is that there is help for you. There is a way for you to go and find the assistance that you need. Okay, that's really powerful to see. So what we might do is we're going to get a bit more practical into, like, now what it looks like for community around us and our role as community in supporting people who are going through to get the help that they need, and maybe even take it a bit broader now, before things get too bad. Is there something like regular check-ins, like that you take your car for service? Is there therapy like that, where it's just like regular check-ins for service to make sure that you're on the right track? So we'll be right back in the next segment.